the cat.
Good evening and welcome to Posse Presents, where we're getting off to a rousing start this evening. No big deal for technical difficulties. It's all part of the fun. Poor Zach's in there apologizing, and you know, whatever, it happens. Yeah, see, he's sick, I'm sick. It's going to be like a great night here on Posse Presents. It's Memorial Day weekend. It feels like it's the middle of March. 2 days ago it was, you know, too warm. Now it's too cold. And I'm sure that I'm not the only person who is not feeling well. And it's crazy. But I hope that everybody's weekend isn't totally washed out and rained out. And that nobody gets as sick as I am. Yay! Anyway, I am proud to say that my show has now received over 4,000 views on YouTube. So that's a bit of a milestone. For those of you who have no idea that it's on YouTube, you can check it out and find every show that we've ever done here. All of the fabulous guests that have been on and graced me with their time, for which I am grateful. I am grateful for the many views that we've had. The show went on the air January 8th of last year, so I don't think those are such bad numbers to have come that far in such a short time. So thank you for a year and a half of fun. And check it out, Posse Presents on YouTube. I want to say a special thanks to last week's guest, Amy Harrell from Connecticut Votes for Animals. I neglected to mention on the air that it was her television debut, and I think she really rocked it. You know, she wasn't nervous. She made her point. She was great. And Connecticut Votes for Animals is definitely an organization to get involved with and to follow. We were here last week speaking about HB 5027, which would disallow the sale of puppy mill-sourced puppies in Connecticut's pet stores. And there's still time to contact your local lawmakers and try to get them on board. You know, it's huge. The whole thing would stop the sale of puppies in in pet stores and actually shift the focus over time to adoptions and rescues and pounds. And it's just, you know, how much better could it get than that for not only the animals, but, you know, people like me who push these poor critters who need homes. So really, visit their Facebook page, Connecticut Votes for Animals. They've got their website on there. All of their info is on the Posse Presents Facebook page. It's a great way to unite with other people of a similar mind and similar passion, to join your voice with the voice of others, because there is strength in numbers. And as Amy said last week, sometimes as little as 5 phone calls can sway a lawmaker. And, you know, you think of, as I said last week, all these petitions that go around, they're looking for 3,000 signatures, and, you know, you think that things have to be in numbers and you feel outnumbered from the beginning. It's not necessarily the case. It doesn't take much to get the lawmakers, apparently, on the side of what you're trying to rally for. So it's definitely worth a phone call, an email, a letter, however you want to do it. I mean, you know, even if you're typing a letter from your old manual typewriter, you know, it doesn't matter. However you do it, snail mail, email, phone call, it doesn't matter. And another point that I just want to re-stress is that to be involved with trying to get laws passed to help the animals, you don't have to have any political affiliations. We talked about this last week. You don't have to be a registered voter. You don't have to be affiliated with a particular party. You know, you don't have to be involved politically. I consider myself apolitical. I can't stand all of the two-faced backstabbing all kinds of stuff like that that go on in the world, never mind in politics. But you don't need any affiliation to have a voice. You know, the lawmakers that you contact really aren't like checking your references to see if you're, if you're voting for them or not. They want your vote, so of course, they're going to be probably very receptive. And always remember to be polite when you contact any lawmaker when you're trying to get something done, and even not lawmakers. I mean, anytime you're trying to rally for a cause and you're going to be making a contact, you should try and be polite anyway. That coming from me is kind of funny because I have a history of not being so nice, but you also have to know when and where to be one way and when and where to be another. And if you're trying to get your way, you're probably better off doing it with a little bit of honey than vinegar. But the bottom line, John's laughing at me, the bottom line is that we really should all band together to stand up for the animals because they need us. We are their voice, and if we're not going to do it and we're going to sit back and think somebody else is going to, we're probably throwing away a lot of chances that could be had to do a great amount of good. On that note, I'm just going to mention that this is that time of year. We're coming up on the circuses coming to town, and June is full of them, I believe. Circuses are nothing but animal cruelty. There's a lot of debate about which particular circus might be better than others. I'm not a fan of any of them. What they do to the elephant, prodding them with hooks and trying to make them do tricks. Elephants are smart, sensitive, compassionate animals. They are very empathetic to their own kind. They don't deserve to be treated the way that they are. None of the animals in the circuses. I mean, some of them are smart and can learn some of the breeds that they have, but they're not meant to be display pieces and money makers for people, and to endure the conditions that they're kept in, to be locked up all the time, shoved into whatever means of travel that they're shoved into. And again, the physical abuse and the cruelty and the mental and emotional stress that they're under. It's just, there are other ways to entertain your family than at the expense of an animal's life and well-being. There are actually going to be protests for the local circuses that are coming in. I'm not going to mention the particular circus, but if you look at the Pound Posse Presents Facebook page, there is an event that's been created, a Facebook event, and the towns that are involved with this particular circus that's making the rounds, there's going to be people in every location, maybe people in all the same locations, but as the circus is traveling, so will the people who are protesting. And I remember a number of years ago, I worked with a young lady who actually took her kid to the circus, and she said she was surprised she didn't see me with the protesters. But if I can, I will. My time and my travel and for some things are limited, but you can certainly be there. You can be heard. It's just really, there are much better ways to entertain your family than at the expense of an animal, and that's all I'm going to say about that. On that note, we're going to go on to the fact that there are urgent dogs everywhere in the state. Summer is typically, and I don't understand this, summer is typically a slow time for adoptions. Now, you would think with families home and spending more time together, who's, kids on summer vacation, and a lot of times parents are home to be with their kids more because their kids are home. Some professions are off for the summer, say teachers and whatnot. It'd be the perfect time to bring an animal into your home and spend the time with it and get it acclimated and in a routine and in your become a member of your family. But clearly, people are more concerned about going on vacation and, you know, weekends and day trips and all that. And yeah, okay, everybody, if you can afford to do all that and you know, you can take off and go and do stuff, that's great. But while you're doing that, animals in shelters are dying. So I don't know. I've never understood why it's not the perfect time. New Haven alone they were at 17 urgents. I think now they're down to 14. That's a lot of dogs that are going to die if they don't find homes. You know, for the shelters to be full now, and I made this post on Facebook, for the shelters to be full now, it just doesn't bode well for the summer. Like, I'm already worried, considering the fact that the summertime it does slow down. So really, if you are considering adopting a pet, this would be a great time to do it. You know, you're coming into more time at home, nicer weather, outside time, you know, great for potty training. You know, nobody has to complain because there's, you know, 3 feet of snow on the ground, and, you know, your kids are home. If they're older, they can all pitch in as long as they're responsible. And I know that that's a sticking point too, you know, responsible children walking pets while the parents are at work, and it's stuff like that. But, you know, there's got to be a way to work it out. You know, if you're thinking about it, all I'm trying to say is now is like the perfect time. You know, as I started to say, people who are in a profession that gives them more time at home in the summer, like teachers, for instance, and I mean, I can't even think of any other, this might be a good time to foster an animal. You know, you're going to have a couple of months where you can be around an animal more and give it some attention. Get in touch with a local rescue, because they're always looking for fosters. I see posts all the time. We'd save more animals if we had more fosters. And, you know, I always say fosters are at a premium. Most of the time, you know, you're going to want to, a rescue's going to want someone who can foster a dog until it finds a home. But there are certainly situations where a rescue is going to be just as happy to have you for a couple of weeks if you're home on vacation, because you're really a stepping stone between maybe dying in a pound and a more permanent foster. You know, a lot of times dogs do get shuffled around a little bit in foster homes, and it's not the end of the world as long as there's the stability and then the routine stays the same. You know, if you know, home A can only keep a dog for 2 weeks, it might work out because foster home B has a dog or a cat or whatever the case may be that's going to be going home, so they can just shift. You know, you're truly just like the swing. And, you know, it's no lie that when you first get an animal out of a shelter, it's going to have maybe some decompressing to do, you know, de-stressing to do. Yours may be the hardest leg of its journey because now it has to get used to home life again, and, you know, the whole potty routine and all that. But that's all good. You know, you're doing it short term, and you're saving a life, and you're doing it under the umbrella of a rescue, which, you know, you really can't go wrong. A lot of rescues will provide all the supplies, so it's not like, you know, you're having to sponsor financially the animal, and you're doing an important job in that you're saving an animal from being put to death. And so I urge anyone who's got the time and definitely the patience to do it. Again, a short-term foster doesn't have to be the end of the world, and you just have to make sure that you discuss with the rescue what your parameters are, how long you really can keep an animal. Keep an open mind to being flexible about, all right, well, you said 2 weeks, but, you know, geez, can you keep the animal for like another week? Because, again, another one will be going home. We've got an adoption in process. It's not necessarily an exact science, but you can certainly make a difference, just as big a difference, short-term as long-term. you know, you can contact any of your local rescues, and they will be certainly glad to have you. There's a lot of them that will absolutely check your information and your references just as if you were an adopter, and they should, because really there are just as many nuts out there that supposedly want to foster as do adopt, and it's a nightmare. But, you know, by all means, if you can't, if you really don't know of a rescue local to you that could need the help, you can contact me, because I network people and shelters and animals and all kinds of lions and tigers and bears, oh my. I do all kinds of networking, and I would be more than happy to put a rescue and a potential foster in touch. All you have to do is reach out to me, either on Facebook, on the Posse Presents Facebook page, or you can always email me at pawprints713@aol.com. That's pawprints713@aol.com. You really can make a difference. And, you know, one of the things that you hear about fostering is, oh, you know, you get attached. How can you stand to give up the animal after you've had them, and this and that? You know what? How can you stand to know that you didn't foster them and they died? That's, you know, you were like all boo-hoo over your own broken heart, but by the same token, you didn't step up, and the rescue couldn't pull a dog that was going to be killed, and it got killed because you were like all boo-hooing over what was going to happen when you had to give it up. If you were that worried about giving it up, adopt it. It's not that hard. You know, I always say there's room for one more. There's always room for one more. Or at least there could be, anyway. I mean, some people do have to know their limits because they end up in borderline hoarding situations and, you know, can't properly take care of what they already have, and they're trying to take in more. But, you know, if you already have pets, the thing that I always say is very important if you're going to foster is to make sure you're bringing an animal into your home that's going to fit as well as if you were going to adopt it, because there's a lot of horror stories about people who mismanage or misjudge an animal, and, you know, they're not getting along, and, you know, people aren't necessarily equipped to handle that. But that's another whole side of it. If you've ever thought about fostering or adopting, now's the time. Like I said, all the pounds are getting full, and it's awfully early in the year for that. I mean, yes, it's towards the end of May. Like I said, summertime is usually the worst time, and the later it gets into summer, you know, sometimes you can shuffle a little bit and get a few adoptions and have a stay of execution, literally. And by the end of the summer, it's just like all backed up and stockpiled, and the shelters are in trouble. It's too early for that. All I'm saying is that we're in trouble already in the state with pounds being full. Do something about it to help. And if you can't foster, and if you can't adopt, network and share. That is such a critical function. You know, just there's so many pages out there on Facebook. Look at my page. I share things all the time. You know, there's dogs that are urgent and need your help, and it doesn't take necessarily a lot of shares. It takes the one share to the person who sees it, and it makes all the difference in the world. So that's my rant on that level, which brings me to my fosters, little Buster and Bentley. Zach, can we have a look at them, please? They now have their own Facebook page, and it's called Buster and Bentley Need a Place to Call Home. The little blonde, I call him, is Buster, and the darker one is Bentley. And they really are the cutest little things in the world. They're a little, behaviorally, they're a little special needs, but they're actually a lot of fun. They're very standoffish at first. They don't necessarily warm up to people very quickly or very easily. Zach, if we've got more pictures, you can go ahead and shuffle them. There they go. They're the cutest little faces. Buster looks definitely dachshund. That's Bentley. he definitely looks more mixed. I mean, you can tell that Buster's got that little long dachshund nose, and he's got the body, and Bentley's face is a little shorter. He shows a mix, but supposedly they're like Jack Russell Terrier mixes, somebody said, but I don't know that I buy that. I mean, I almost see, as I call them, a Chiweenie when I look at Bentley, and of course that would be a Chihuahua / Dachshund, but their traits are very Dachshund. They've got the Dachshund nose, they've got the Dachshund curiosity. They like to chew, they like to root things out, whether it's in the yard or under a piece of furniture. They'll find fuzz you didn't know it was there. I mean, they're crazy cute, and they're really a lot of fun. Like I was saying, they're definitely a little special needs as far as behavior goes. They don't warm up to people quickly. They're afraid of things that you wouldn't expect them to be afraid of. They were purchased for older children who lost interest in them very quickly. At a year and a half or a little more old, they weren't socialized properly. We think that there was some abuse involved, which is always sad. Neglect as far as, like I say, the lack of socialization. So they're afraid of silly things like quick movements and loud noises, and not necessarily big fans of men, although they have warmed up to them. I wouldn't recommend them in a house with children, because small children are prone to quick movements, and especially Bentley, he gets afraid. So you definitely wouldn't want anything to happen there. But they're just the cutest little things, and I can't imagine that their little wiggly butts and kissy faces and all that haven't found their perfect home. There's been some interest in them, but unfortunately, people want one or the other. Now, yes, at first we kind of thought that they'd be able to be separated and probably be fine, but you see them now, and I've had them, for 3 weeks. They really should stay together. There's no doubt, because they are a unit. And God, I love their little faces. I love them. I really do. But, yeah, again, fostering is important. No, I didn't get them from an urgent situation, but they had nowhere to go. So, that's another way to do it. I've fostered many times from an urgent situation. So, they do need more of an experienced home, someone who can be very empathetic and understand what triggers them, what fears they have, what things make them comfortable. I saw Buster very, very reserved the first few days in my house, and now you would never know that he was ever even uncomfortable. Bentley was trying to get him to play in the worst way, and now they just wrestle and tear it up, and it's hilarious. They're so cute. They love their toys. You can't give them stuffed toys because they pull the stuffing out, but you give them Nylabones or the rope toys or stuff like that, and they're happy as all heck. So they're a lot of fun. Once they like you, once you're in. And I'm telling you, little wiggle butts and kisses, and it's great. So I'll take the camera back. I love those little faces. I know they're waiting for me when I go home, but I like looking at them here too. But they're a lot of fun, and I hope to bring them in here so you guys can see them live. Hint, hint, you know who, if she's watching. I just need some certain paperwork in order to make that happen, and everybody's schedules sort of conflict as far as getting stuff together sometimes, and it's all good. But yeah, I love people who have said in the past, I needed to be more hands-on. People don't seem to understand that, for me, I'm doing what I do because I've gotten to this point. I don't foster often. No, I don't, because it is a lot to ask sometimes. I do have my own animals, and I'm not asking anybody to do anything I wouldn't do in a situation where it needs to be done and the animals are going to fit in with my home and my routine. I will absolutely do it. So Buster and Bentley ended up really with no place to go. Rather than bounce them around from place to place and you know, get them all confused. Yep, they're hanging out with me for a while. And, you know, I just hope that somebody catches on and scoops them up, because they really, really are a lot of fun. You know, they love to play, they'll tug a war, they snuggle, they cuddle. You should see when they wrestle, it's hilarious. You know, it's funny because Bentley will be chewing away on a nylabone and Buster will want it. And, you know, you wonder sometimes, like, Bentley will kind of like give him a little teeth, like, get off. And you think, wow, you know, he's resource guarding. No, because then you watch Buster start to, like, give him kisses and lick up to him and get closer and closer, and he's making all these noises, and he tries to engage Bentley in a little bit of play, and as soon as Bentley goes, like, to play with him, bam, Buster grabs the toy. He grabs the nylabone. So Bentley knows it, and Buster, a little sneak. They're so entertaining. I also wish, I'm going to try to get like a little video on them, because it's definitely, I mean, even if, whether I have them in here or not, it would be hilarious to put up on Facebook, especially to hear the noises they make. I mean, even when, like, my little Gidget is playing, it's hilarious, because she makes, like, you wonder where these noises are coming from. You know, these little, you know, they sound like, you know, years ago there was this little, this movie with the little doll that came to life, and it was like a little voodoo doll that came to life, and it made like the craziest noises. Do you know what I'm talking about? Did you ever see that movie? And it almost they almost like the Gremlins too, you know, those little noises. It's hilarious. Anyway, I'm rambling, and I don't mean to, but I just got off on a tangent. We're getting down to the wire, and I just want to say, you know, definitely check out the Dogs and the Pounds. They're full. Foster if you can. Adopt is even better. Special hello tonight to two ladies who I hold near and dear to my heart, and that would be my friend Celeste, who said as I was on my way here she was going to be watching, and to my friend Dawn, who should be watching. And, you know, it's funny, there are two friends that came to me from different places, and they actually know each other, so it's kind of cool. So Celeste and Dawn, good evening to you. I hope that everybody has a great rest of the weekend. Remember, it's Memorial Day. Thank a veteran, because that's why we're celebrating the weekend. And until next week, I'm going to say peace, love, and dogs. Good night, everybody.